You know, there's a lot to love about modern video games. Vibrant worlds, compelling characters, complex and enthralling gameplay loops. There's a lot to hate too, but this isn't that video. My point is, it's all very nice, very good, very big and complex and fulfilling. But some days, you don't want that. The grandiosity, the pageantry, the demands. No, you want something simple, something clean. No muss, no fuss, no ricketa-racketa, just unleaded, uncomplicated fun injected straight into your veins. For that, you need a special kind of game, something from the old days, a rougher, more immediate kind of game. You need something like Gauntlet. But before that, if you like what you see here, maybe share it around, subscribe, tell a friend, tell your dog. I'm an atom-sized channel on the ass end of the algorithm, and so any help would be very much appreciated. So, let's take this from the top. The first Gauntlet, released in 1985, is a hack-and-slash game developed by Atari that was fairly groundbreaking for its time. Played from a then-novel top-down perspective, you would choose one of 4 characters and hack, slash, shoot, and magic your way through ghosts, goblins, sorcerers, and various kinds of goop. The characters, while not terribly diverse, had just enough variation that you would gravitate towards one or the other. The warrior hit the hardest, while the Valkyrie had the best defense, the elf was the fastest, and the wizard could make the best use of the magic pickups you found in your journeys. You slay, you play, you find the floor key, you descend to the next level, rinse and repeat. As you made your way, you'd get tiny bits of actual voice acting, mainly through the iconic narrator, another novelty for the time.
Welcome, Red Warrior.
What's more, Gauntlet was the first, or one of the first, arcade games to introduce multiplayer-focused PvE, where you and 3 friends could tackle the dungeons together. And yes, I know this is technically Gauntlet 2 you're looking at, but they're basically the same game, and besides, it was the only one I had. Had to whip out that Midway Arcade Classics collection. It was hugely successful and made tons of money, mainly off a dirty trick they did with the HP. See, your health drained every second regardless of how well you played, eventually guaranteeing a game over, even with the occasional bit of floor meat or floor fruit. Of course, the game had ways of extending play.
Oh, Red Warrior is about to die.
For instance, you could always just put in another quarter, get a nice big chunk of health back immediately, continue to have fun with your friends. Jesus. Modern developers wish they could do such brazen nickel and diming. And so, a decade of sequels and ports to every known operating system followed, some just repeating the same loop but with different levels, others which legitimately tried to shake up the formula, some with more success than others. For our part, we rejoined the series in 1998 for Atari's last hurrah, the seminal 90s classic Gauntlet Legends.
Gauntlet Legends.
Now this was the good shit. A real modernization of the original formula and one of the defining multiplayer experiences of the time, both in the arcade and with that N64 port that I'd swear half the world owned. The hacking had never been hackier, the slashing never slashier, and all on the crisp polygonal glory of early 3D. They added in a full-blown level-up system with stats and everything, and a password system for the arcade version so that you could come back the next day and continue with your own character. Real living in the future shit right there. We even have some semblance of a plot now. Dillweed Mage Garm tried to summon the demon lord Poobah of Hell to do his bidding. It ended poorly for him, and now the demon, Scorn, is unleashing armies of dread beasts upon the realms. The mage's brother, the great wizard Sumner, also our narrator, has summoned us, to vanquish the beast. It's quick, efficient, sensible, the comfortable flats of gaming plots. Legends was, as I said, a bona fide hit, but our destination lies just beyond, in that game's sequel/expansion/remake, Gauntlet Dark Legacy. evergreen hack and slash treasure and a pillar of my childhood.
Gauntlet. Dark Legacy.
And that last part ain't just lip service either. 24 years ago, a little boy stood in the video game aisle at CompUSA where his father told him he could choose 2 games for his new PS2. He wanted Tekken Tag Tournament and Kessen, but they were either not there or not yet out, so instead he went home with Bloody Roar 3 and
Gauntlet.
And that kid? John F. Kennedy. As I mentioned in passing, Dark Legacy is sort of an expansion to Legends, using the same engine and all the same assets, but adding in a boatload of new content and the odd expansion to what was already there. It's worth noting that some of this content had already made into the Dreamcast version of Legends, but only the Dreamcast one. The whole situation is kind of confusing, and besides, for my part, we're talking specifically about that PS2 version. We've got 4 new characters, the Sorceress, the Knight, the Dwarf, and the Jester, acting as counterparts to the Wizard, the Valkyrie, the Warrior, and the Archer. They're pretty much just palette swaps, each one focusing on the same primary stat as their other, although there is slight deviation in how their secondary stats shake out, so if you're looking for an in-game reason to choose one or the other, there you go, you may now legally choose Titty Magician. All things equal, I think I actually prefer the Dark Legacy ads. Their designs are a bit more eccentric and interesting as opposed to the comparatively standard classic group. Already, right out the gate, that next-gen horsepower is being put to good use with this incredible pre-rendered cinematic bringing you in as opposed to the in-engine opening of the original, charming as that still is. So you choose your champion, and Sumner welcomes you to his tower, which will be our hub world for the evening. From here, the game structure is pretty much laid out front to back. Your objective: enter a world, play through said world's levels until you reach the boss, kill the boss, get his chunk of the key to the desecrated temple where Scorn has taken up residence, and kill him. But it's between those big bullet points that we find our moment to moment. See, in order to unlock any of the sealed worlds, you need a certain number of colored crystals. Fortunately, Sumner is able to supply you with the necessary collateral to enter the first world, but from here on, it's all on you.
Congratulations! You now have enough crystals to enter the Forsaken Province.
Luckily, the damn things are everywhere, and if you're paying even a moderate amount of attention, you'll get enough to unlock each new world in the normal course of play. More tricky are the rune stones, which are key to finishing Scorn off for good, and will have to be gathered as well to truly finish the game. These are peppered throughout the levels, usually hidden behind some locked door or closed off area, the game generally doing a good job of showing you where each one is, and while the sequences to get them are occasionally a little bit frustrating, they're never too arcane. So there's crystals, there's rune stones, there's these gold souvenirs that you need to unlock the other wings of the tower, there's the window shards you get from each boss, and that's not even counting the gold you collect from chests in secret areas so that you can buy additional power-ups or stat upgrades. There's so much to collect it verges on platformer standards, like some unholy combination of Dynasty Warriors and Donkey Kong 64. But how's the gameplay overall? Well, pretty much the same as it's always been. Simple and fun, very arcadey, and now positively bursting with content thanks to Dark Legacy's additions. There's new worlds, new levels, new enemy types like this surprisingly threatening general or this poop griffin, but overall the docket is still the same, mobs of easily slaughtered but constantly advancing goons that will keep coming until you destroy the dwelling what spawns them, with the odd archer or golem or mad bomber thrown in for flavor. Dark Legacy is not a hard game. Well, not hard most of the time, but we'll get back to that. As long as you keep positioning in mind and don't let yourself get surrounded, you'll be fine. Flavoring the Slaughterfest is a neat little assortment of power-ups from screen-clearing thunder hammers to temporary acid breath to a little phoenix fellow floating next to you and shoots little fireballs at your enemies. They're mostly just for fun or convenience, like the X-ray glasses or the anti-death power-up, which lets you turn the tables on the Grim Reaper. Oh, yeah, Death shows up sometimes. Real bastard, too. drains your health and follows you through the whole damn stage if you try to run. He'll leave after he gets his fill, or you can use one of your very useful crowd-clearing potions to banish him early. Considering there's a variation that steals experience points, you'll probably want to keep a flask or two handy. Or hell, you can forego all that highfalutin positioning and item talk and just run in and wail on enemies, doing way more damage, especially if you're one of the combat-oriented classes, but putting yourself at risk of death of 1,000 cuts. There's super attacks, which are attached to that little bar down there above your name. Depending on how full it is, you can kill everything in the immediate area or just send a big ol' wave of death in front of you. This might all sound like a lot at first blush, but it's really not. Gauntlet is hack and slash par excellence, and most of the time you'll just be smashing that shoot/slash button to clear out the ravening hordes with the occasional magic burst or ultimate attack to rub a little stank on it. A steady stream of monster-slaying, dopamine-pumping delight. Now, enemies do get stronger as the game goes on, and can wear you down if you're careless, especially since health items, while fairly common, don't heal that much, and by endgame offer minimum relief. Played in the right state of mind, Gauntlet can be almost relaxing. That is, except for when you get to one of the bosses. Rocking nice, thick health bars and an ability to chunk your HP with one hit, the bosses represent an almost jarring shift in difficulty. 1 minute you're cruising through the Valley of Fire, having a good day, orcs are getting mulched, all is right with the world. And the next, the Lich is styling on you because, powerful demigod you may become, you still plod along like you're waist-deep in molasses. Some bosses are raw DPS checks like the Slime, killing it before it kills you with a modest assortment of predictable but damaging attacks. Others, like the aforementioned Lich, come with a whole damn cookbook and are extremely mobile, making them legitimately dangerous. By the time you're hitting the last few, you might even have to grind a little for XP or gold for stat boosting, since late gamers like the Genie and the Wraith will shit in your eyes if you're not ready for them. At this point, I should probably mention that there's a shield mechanic attached to the shoulder buttons, a stationary one and another one that protects and moves you forward at the cost of some of that super gauge I mentioned earlier. Issue is, they're only active for a second or so when you press them, almost like a parry, and the timing can be surprisingly strenuous. Doesn't really matter to me, I like to tank damage anyway, and I'm too old to change my habits now. Visually and production-wise, Dark Legacy is right out of the turn of the 90s Western fantasy treasure chest. Makes sense, as I said, the game is more of an updated re-release of Legends, and it shows in the visuals. Even by the standards of the time, and especially on what was a brand new console, the game is a bit homely. Models are smoother, environments are more colorful, but this still has 5th generation polygon jank all over it. Credit where due, though, they certainly worked with what they had. Stages are generally simplistic, but very high on personality, very visually diverse even within the same world, and sometimes having little mini-puzzles to get more valuable collectibles, or little bits of terrain eccentricity or minor hazards to keep things lively. The world lineup hits all the classics. You've got Mountain Land, Skyland, Egyptian Land, a castle, Pennsylvania, the jungle, though some of the later stages, particularly the nightmarish carnival stage, get at least a little more creative with the visual. Sound fares much better. Pure gold for both ironic and unironic reasons. Sound effects are wonderfully scruffy. Every enemy death is accompanied by a thick, wet explosion sound, while monsters engage in all manner of low growls, audio-distorting roars, and ear-scratching gibbering. Your heroes are little chatterboxes too, constantly shooting off all manner of little grunts, barks, and screams as necessary, although they do let slip the odd nugget of sage wisdom. And then there's Sumner, who's just wonderful. Pitched down to the point of near incomprehensibility, be it announcing your attacks or explaining every single mechanic in the game, all lines are delivered with a bombast and a cornball enthusiasm that modern gaming is too scared to replicate, lest they be accused of forbidden cringe.
Collect gold to buy power-ups. Destroy generators to stop enemies.
Man, fuck that. Nothing gets you more pumped to start a stage more than Sumner proclaiming its title like he's reading a book to a class of first graders.
You are now entering the castle courtyard, Sky Shipyard, the Valley of Fire, the Poisoned Fields, Vat of the Plague Fiend, the Mystic Pyramid, Lich's Crypt, Maze of Illusion, the Twisted Roots of Evil.
And yes, for longtime fans of the series, he even says the thing.
Red Dwarf needs food badly. Red Dwarf is about to die.
It's just plain fun to listen to in a way very characteristic of the time, although maybe a few of those attack lines could have used a once-over. Or 3. Now, on the opposite end of the sound spectrum, we have an unironically incredible soundtrack, which, full disclosure, I had forgotten until gathering footage for this video. The famous Gauntlet theme has always been associated with grand adventure. Hell, there's a chance you knew it before you even clicked here. And while we get a snippet of it, all bold and brassy at the tail end of the opening, the version in Sumner's Tower is surprisingly moody and low-key, giving your first exposure to the world a weird sort of ambience. And that's the dichotomy of the soundtrack in a nutshell. Quiet and atmospheric one moment, booming and adventurous the next. Every level has its own unique theme, and while some of them are a little bit generic, others actually do a lot to enhance the mood of their respective environment. Whether it's the soaring horns of the mountains, the effectively creepy tunes of the undead villages, or some of that classic castle twang, it's a soundtrack that, to reuse a term from earlier, has a ton of personality and charm, and is almost distractingly good for the, let's say, somewhat shaky production values shown elsewhere. And that's it. Kind of amazed I talked about it for even this long, but that's the way it is with those childhood games, I guess. Whether they're Pong or Planescape, you build up a lifetime of thoughts and experiences, and while age has definitely taken its toll on something that was already a shaky, muddy, repetitive mess of a game, no less, Gauntlet Dark Legacy is still damn fun, and in case I haven't hit the point home, I still love it dearly. It's classic monster-slaying, dungeon-crawling, fruit-eating, death-killing action from an era when a game really did just need to be super fun and sell decently to succeed. Meant to be played, enjoyed, shared, and remembered fondly. No more, no less. So, if you're buying what it's selling, copies for all 3 of the consoles of the day are still pretty cheap, and I'm sure some service somewhere has it available for download. Get one, get some friends, have a rollicking good time, and remember to feed your wizards. You know, now that I think about it, it kind of sucks that this was the last we ever saw of classic Gauntlet. There was the reboot in the 2010s, and that isn't bad, but besides that, complete silence, and you get the hell out of my house!